Chapter 1: The Digital Pulse. Welcome to Synapse Daily. The silence of 1973 is heavy. Modern medicine faces a massive wall. Information moves at a walking speed. Paper files fill dusty, dark basements. Soldiers wait for critical, life-saving care. A digital revolution is quietly brewing. DARPA enters the quiet medical ward. The goal was instant life-saving communication. The stakes were absolute human survival. Could a cold machine think faster? Could electronic code replace a courier? We explore the very first network. History changed forever in this hallway. Imagine a world without any instant data. Doctors relied on physical mail and luck. One lost folder meant a lost life. The military could not accept these odds. They needed a radical, high-tech solution. Innovation was born from sheer necessity. The Pentagon looked toward the glowing tubes. They envisioned a web of healing wires. Every second felt like a painful hour. Trauma surgeons demanded faster patient records. The digital pulse began to flicker. It started in a small, crowded lab. Engineers dreamed of a global brain. This brain would store every heartbeat. No more searching through heavy paper stacks. No more waiting for a slow truck. The transition was terrifying and bold. Traditionalists hated the new glowing screens. They feared the machines would fail. But the visionaries stayed the course. They saw a future made of light. The first connection was a fragile spark. It whispered across a single copper line. The silence of the hospital was over. Chapter 2: The ARPANET Legacy. The Internet was still very young. People called it the ARPANET then. Initially, it served the military command. Nuclear defense was the top priority. Computers were weapons of the Cold War. But human life mattered deeply too. DARPA saw a brilliant new potential. Hospitals needed shared, instant medical data. Information silos were killing many patients. A doctor in DC needed records. The patient was far in California. Physical mail took 3 long days. In 1973, that was a total eternity. The network offered a digital bridge. A bridge made of pure light. The first data packets began moving. This was the ancestor of your web. It was clunky, loud, and very slow. Yet, it carried the weight of hope. ARPANET wasn't just for launching missiles. It was becoming a tool for healing. The engineers redefined the machine's purpose. They shifted from destruction to vital care. The nodes were scattered across the coast. Each point was a giant mainframe computer. Connecting them required miles of cable. It required a new language of logic. Software was written on punched cards. Errors were frequent and very frustrating. But the legacy was being written. The foundation of our world started here. It was a gritty, analog to digital transition. The pioneers didn't have any manuals. They invented the rules as they went. Every successful ping was a victory. The legacy of ARPANET is life itself. Chapter 3: The Infrastructure of 1973. Look closely at the 1973 hardware. Massive computers filled entire, chilled rooms. They hummed with immense, radiating heat. Whirring magnetic tapes stored tiny data bits. The interface was purely green text. No mice or touch screens existed. Telephones used strange, rubber acoustic couplers. Modems screamed at a slow 300 baud. It felt like pure, distant sci-fi. Yet, it was a cold, hard reality. This was the brutal digital frontier. Copper wires carried heavy medical secrets. Data moved through thick, gray cables. Every single bit was a struggle. Innovation was built on heavy steel. The floors were raised for cooling air. Power consumption was absolutely massive. A single crash took hours to fix. There were no cloud backups in 1973. If the tape broke, data died. Engineers lived on coffee and cigarettes. They babysat the machines all night. The interface message processor was key. We call it a router today. Then, it was a rugged metal fridge. It handled the heavy lifting of data. It chopped information into small pieces. These pieces raced through the phone lines. The infrastructure was a mechanical beast. It was loud, dirty, and very expensive. But it worked against all odds. It turned electricity into human knowledge. The 1973 grid was a masterpiece. It was the skeleton of our future. Chapter 4: The Military Medical Need. Why start this with the military? War always demands speed and precision. Soldiers move rapidly across the globe. Their medical history must follow them. A missed allergy is often fatal. A wrong blood type kills quickly. Paper records are very easily lost. Digital records are nearly immortal forever. DARPA focused strictly on the wounded. Efficiency was a vital tactical advantage. Saving lives strengthened the entire force. The project had high-level Pentagon backing. Generals saw the digital future clearly. Communication was truly the best medicine. The plan was set in motion. Battlefield medicine required a radical change. Medics needed data in the mud. The hospital needed to reach the front. Information was as vital as ammunition. A soldier's life was worth the cost. The military provided the massive funding. They provided the safest testing grounds. Security was built into the first line. Civilian hospitals couldn't afford this yet. Only the defense budget could innovate. The urgency of combat drove the tech. Speed meant the difference between life. Delay meant the tragedy of death. The early internet was a shield. It protected the brave with pure data. The mission was clear and noble. Connect the healers to the warriors. This need pushed the science further. It forced the technology to evolve fast. The military paved the digital road. Chapter 5: Connecting the Giants. 3 major hubs were chosen first. The UCLA Medical Center led the charge. Stanford Research Institute joined them next. The University of Utah followed very quickly. These were the vital network nodes. Engineers worked directly with busy surgeons. It was an unlikely, strange pairing. Complex code met the operating room. The protocols had to be absolutely perfect. One small failure meant a system crash. In medicine, system crashes are deadly. They built the first digital gateways. These linked completely different computer types. Incompatibility was the main digital enemy. They forced the stubborn machines to talk. The wires ran through dark, cold tunnels. The nodes spanned hundreds of empty miles. Data traveled like a ghost through cables. Each hospital represented a massive brain. Connecting them created a giant superorganism. The scientists faced many technical walls. Memory was scarce and very expensive. Processing power was a rare luxury. Yet, the nodes remained firmly linked. The signal never flickered or died. The giants were finally speaking together. Collaboration became a real-time reality. The physical distance no longer mattered. The network map was growing daily. These 3 pillars held the future. They supported the weight of innovation. The medical world was changing fast. The connection was strong and reliable. The digital bridge was finally open. Chapter 6: The First Data Packets. What did they actually send first? It wasn't high-definition video or images. They sent very simple patient IDs. They sent digital vital sign logs. Heart rates turned into glowing digits. Blood pressure became a secret code. This was the first EHR ever. Electronic health records were finally born. It felt like pure magic then. A green screen blinked in Maryland. Critical data had arrived from Texas. Zero physical movement had occurred. It was the ghost in the machine. It was a miracle of pure logic. The experiment was now officially live. Packets were tiny pieces of data. They traveled independently across the lines. They reassembled at the final destination. This prevented total data loss incidents. If one path failed, another opened. It was a very robust medical system. The doctors watched the screens intently. Numbers appeared without any human error. No more messy, unreadable doctor handwriting. The data was cold, hard, and fast. It carried the breath of life. It carried the hope of recovery. Every packet was a small victory. The science of logistics was reborn. The pulse was now a digital signal. The hospital was no longer isolated. The world was getting much smaller. Information was finally free to move. Chapter 7: Security in the 70s. Was the data truly safe then? Cybersecurity was a brand new concept. Encryption was quite primitive but present. Military lines were always physically guarded. They feared secret Soviet wiretaps deeply. Medical privacy was a sacred duty. The interface message processor was vital. We call it the IMP for short. This was the very first router. It acted as a digital shield. Only authorized personnel had any access. Teletype machines required specific physical keys. The backdoor did not exist yet. Data integrity was the primary goal. The medical records remained untainted. Hacking was not a common word. But the engineers were very careful. They locked the computer room doors. They monitored every single byte sent. The military demanded absolute, total secrecy. Health data is a powerful weapon. In the wrong hands, it kills. So, the firewalls were human guards. The encryption was a complex cipher. It protected the names of soldiers. It protected the status of units. Privacy was the foundation of trust. Without trust, the system would fail. The security held firm for years. No leaks ever reached the public. The digital vault was successfully closed. The data lived in a fortress. Chapter 8: The Human Element. Doctors were initially very skeptical. They trusted their own handwritten notes. Machines felt cold and quite unreliable. Can a computer truly diagnose illness? Can it ever replace a nurse? The answer was always a no. The goal was only expert assistance. It was a tool for specialists. Slowly, the surgeons saw the value. Lab results appeared almost instantly now. No more waiting for young messengers. The technology saved many precious minutes. Minutes save lives in severe trauma. The human-machine bond slowly formed. Skepticism turned into a total reliance. Nurses learned to type on keyboards. They saw the speed of data. They felt the relief of accuracy. The hospital staff became digital pioneers. They were the first users ever. The machine was a silent partner. It didn't sleep or get tired. It held the data with precision. The human heart still made decisions. But the computer provided the facts. It was a perfect, balanced harmony. Technology and empathy worked together. The fear of the unknown vanished. The era of digital medicine arrived. The humans were ready for more. Chapter 9: Breaking the Distance. Distance was the old, cruel enemy. The internet killed that distance forever. A specialist could advise patients remotely. Telemedicine took its very first breath. In 1973, this was truly revolutionary. Imagine a brain surgeon in Boston. Imagine a field medic in Florida. They shared the exact same screen. They read the same vital stats. The geographical barrier simply dissolved. The hospital became a global network. The walls were now purely digital. Treatment became a massive, global effort. DARPA had successfully shortened the world. The future was truly right here. Doctors consulted through high-speed wires. They looked at data across states. Expertise was no longer tied to location. A small clinic had elite support. Knowledge moved faster than any jet. The system bridged the physical gaps. It brought healing to remote outposts. No soldier was ever truly alone. A digital angel watched over them. This was the birth of connectivity. The network didn't care about miles. It only cared about the data. The pulses traveled at light speed. The world felt suddenly very small. Communication was the ultimate cure. Innovation had conquered the vast map. The digital era had no borders. Healing was a click away now. Chapter 10: Technical Hurdles. The system wasn't always perfectly stable. Phone lines often dropped out suddenly. Static corrupted the fragile data streams. Packet loss was a constant nightmare. They needed flow control very badly. This ensured every bit arrived safely. TCP/IP was still slowly, painfully evolving. Standardization was the biggest, toughest hurdle. Different hospitals used different machine languages. Programmers worked through the long night. They wrote the very first translators. Middleware was born in late 1973. It was messy, loud, and difficult. But the logic always held firm. The system learned how to heal. Engineers fought the interface message processor. The hardware was prone to overheating. They used massive fans for cooling. Bugs lived inside the complex code. Debugging meant checking thousands of lines. There were no automated tools then. Every fix was a manual labor. They struggled with low memory limits. Every byte was a precious resource. They optimized every single line of code. Persistence was their only real weapon. The machines were stubborn and old. But the human will was stronger. They forced the network to survive. The hurdles became steps to success. Failure was never an option here. The code eventually became rock solid. Chapter 11: The Cost of Innovation. The project was incredibly, vastly expensive. Millions of dollars were spent rapidly. Taxpayers funded this bold digital leap. Was it truly worth the price? Critics called it a high-tech toy. Supporters called it a vital shield. One successful surgery proved the point. The ROI was measured in lives. Economic value came much, much later. In 1973, it was mission critical. The military didn't mind the costs. They wanted the best possible edge. Innovation is never, ever cheap. Greatness requires a very heavy investment. The foundation was made of gold. Research budgets were strictly, carefully managed. Every dollar bought a new connection. Every cent improved the data speed. The Pentagon saw the long-term goal. They invested in the invisible future. Skeptics demanded immediate, visible results. The scientists delivered a working network. It was a gamble on technology. It was a bet on human genius. The cost of failure was higher. A lost war costs much more. The investment saved countless young lives. History justifies the massive spending today. We enjoy the fruits of 1973. The price of progress was paid. Chapter 12: The Shift to Civilian Use. The experiment eventually expanded quite rapidly. Military success invited massive civilian interest. Public hospitals looked at DARPA's work. They wanted that same digital speed. The early internet began growing outwards. It leaked into the civilian public. Academic hospitals were the very first. The protocols became the global standard. The 1973 project ended officially then. But its spirit never truly died. It became the modern, fast internet. Every health app uses it today. Your wearable tracker uses it now. We live in their bold experiment. The seeds were planted very deeply. Privacy laws were updated for data. Doctors everywhere adopted the new tools. The military secret became public knowledge. Information freedom started in a ward. The network grew beyond the Pentagon. It reached every city and home. The technology was for everyone now. DARPA's gift was a connected world. The transition was a quiet revolution. Public health changed its entire face. Data was the new medicine. The legacy reached every single human. The circle of care was complete. The project's end was a beginning. A new digital age had started. Chapter 13, The Synapse Conclusion. We look back to move forward. 1973 was the turning point. DARPA linked the first hearts. The digital pulse never stopped. Today, we take it for granted. But then, it was impossible. Thank you for joining Synapse. History is a living thing. It beats in our wires. It flows in our code. Stay curious about the past. It builds your modern world. The network is always watching. The pulse is still strong. Goodbye from Synapse Daily.